Hidden beneath layers of dust, myth, and whispered legends lie the lost treasures of civilizations that time forgot. Picture this golden cities shimmering under the sun, hordes of riches amassed by kings whose names have faded from memory, and caches of jewels buried so deep they've become little more than campfire tales. But what if these stories aren't just fantasies? What if the fabled treasures of prehistoric empires are still out there, waiting to be found? For centuries, the allure of lost gold has driven explorers to the farthest corners of the earth, risking everything in pursuit of fortunes that might not even exist. Yet the mystery itself is the real treasure, because these legends aren't just about wealth. They're about the rise and fall of entire worlds, the dreams of ancient peoples, and the echoes of their lives that still resonate today. Think about El Dorado, the golden city that lured conquistadors into the unforgiving jungles of South America, or King Solomon's mines, said to hold wealth beyond measure. These aren't just fairy tales, they're reflections of real empires, real cultures, and real human ambition. The truth is, every legend has a kernel of fact buried within it, and that's what makes these stories so irresistible. Archaeologists have spent lifetimes piecing together clues, deciphering ancient texts, and following trails that vanish as quickly as they appear. And sometimes, against all odds, they strike gold not just in the literal sense, but in the rediscovery of histories we thought were lost forever. So join me as we step into the shadows of the past, where myth and reality blur into one. We'll trace the footsteps of those who came before us, unraveling the threads of these age-old mysteries to uncover what might still lie hidden. From sunken ships laden with treasure to temples swallowed by the jungle, the fabled riches of prehistoric empires hold secrets that could rewrite history. This isn't just a story about gold, it's about the unshakable human spirit, the drive to explore, and the timeless question, what else is out there waiting to be found? The journey begins now. There's something primal about the idea of lost treasure, an almost magnetic pull that transcends time and culture. It's not just about the glitter of gold or the sparkle of jewels, it's about the stories woven into them. Take the Spanish conquistadors, for example. They didn't just chase El Dorado for wealth, they chased a dream, a legend so potent it drove men to march through uncharted jungles, face starvation, and risk death. That's the power of these tales. They're not just about what's lost, but about what it means to search. Every culture has its version of the treasure myth. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs filled their tombs with riches to carry into the afterlife, believing wealth was a bridge to the divine. The Greeks spoke of the golden fleece, a symbol of kingship and adventure. Even today, we see it in pop culture: Indiana Jones racing against time to recover artifacts, or pirate maps leading to chests of gold. These stories tap into something deeper, our longing for the unknown, the thrill of the hunt, and the idea that somewhere just beyond our reach lies something extraordinary. But here's the fascinating twist: many of these legends have roots in reality. The city of Troy was once thought to be pure myth, until archaeologists dug up its ruins. The lost Inca gold, the hordes of Viking raiders, the sunken galleons of the Spanish Main, they all blur the line between story and history, and that's why we keep searching. Every broken pottery shard, every faded map, every cryptic inscription is a puzzle piece waiting to snap into place. The real treasure isn't just the gold, it's the chance to touch the past and bring its secrets into the light. So what is it about these stories that refuses to let go of us? Maybe it's the reminder that the world is still full of mysteries, that there are corners left unexplored, stories left untold. Or maybe it's simpler than that. We're all, in some way, still those wide-eyed explorers, dreaming of what might be hidden just around the next bend. El Dorado, just the name, conjures images of unimaginable riches, of a city where gold was as common as stone. But the truth behind this legendary kingdom is far more fascinating than the myths that surround it. The story begins with the Muisca people, an advanced civilization that thrived in what is now Colombia long before European explorers set foot on their lands. Their rituals were as dazzling as they were sacred. Imagine a ceremony where a king, his body shimmering with gold dust, stepped onto a raft piled high with golden treasures. As the raft floated into the center of Lake Guatavita, he would cast these offerings into the water, a tribute to the gods believed to dwell beneath the surface. This wasn't just spectacle, it was a profound act of faith, a connection between the earthly and the divine. Yet when Spanish conquistadors heard whispers of this golden king, they didn't see a spiritual tradition, they saw a prize to be seized. Men like Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada and Sebastián de Belalcázar led expeditions deep into the jungles, driven by tales of a city where gold was so plentiful it lined the streets. They called it El Dorado, the Golden One, and their obsession with it became a fever. But the Muisca's true wealth wasn't just in metal, it was in their culture, their knowledge, their way of life. The conquistadors, blinded by greed, missed the real treasure entirely. Instead, they left behind shattered communities and a legacy of violence, all in pursuit of a dream that was never quite what they imagined. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Centuries later, archaeologists began uncovering golden artifacts in Lake Guatavita, exquisite figurines, intricate jewelry, and ceremonial objects that matched the descriptions of those ancient rituals. These finds proved that the legend of El Dorado wasn't just fantasy, it was rooted in real practices, real people. The Muisca's gold wasn't hoarded in some hidden city, it was given freely, a sacred offering to the waters they revered. And that raises an even bigger question. If these treasures were found in one lake, what else might still be waiting in others? Modern technology has given us glimpses beneath the surface, but Lake Guatavita remains stubbornly secretive. Its depths are murky, its sediments thick with centuries of history. Some believe the lake still holds untold riches, while others argue its true value lies in the stories it preserves. Either way, El Dorado endures not as a place but as a symbol. It's a reminder of how easily ambition can twist into obsession, and how the greatest treasures aren't always the ones we can hold in our hands. The Golden King's legacy isn't in the gold he gave away, but in the mystery he left behind, a mystery that continues to captivate us today. King Solomon's mines, just the mention of them evokes visions of caverns glittering with gold, of wealth so vast it defies imagination. According to the Bible, King Solomon's reign was a golden age, where precious metals and gemstones flowed into his kingdom like water. The scriptures describe a ruler so wealthy that silver became as common as stones in Jerusalem, and his mines were said to be the source of this unimaginable fortune. But here's the mystery: if these mines were real, where were they? And if they were merely symbolic, why have so many risked their lives searching for them? The hunt for Solomon's mines has taken explorers from the rocky deserts of the Middle East to the heart of Africa, each clue leading to more questions than answers. One of the most compelling theories points to the ancient ruins of Great Zimbabwe, a sprawling stone city in southern Africa. When European explorers first stumbled upon its towering walls in the 19th century, they couldn't believe such sophistication could be African in origin, so they attributed it to Solomon, convinced they'd found the remains of his legendary mine. But modern archaeology tells a different story. Great Zimbabwe was the work of the Shona people, a thriving civilization that traded gold and ivory across the Indian Ocean centuries before Europeans arrived. The connection to Solomon, a case of wishful thinking, a desperate attempt to fit the puzzle pieces of history into a preconceived narrative, yet the fascination persists. Some researchers argue that if Solomon's mines existed at all, they might lie elsewhere, perhaps in the copper-rich valleys of Jordan or the ancient port cities of the Red Sea, where trade routes once buzzed with merchants carrying spices, gold, and precious stones. Others suggest the mines were never literal, but a metaphor for wisdom, a treasure far greater than material wealth. After all, Solomon was renowned not just for his riches, but for his unparalleled wisdom, his ability to see beyond the surface and understand the true value of things. So where does that leave us? The truth may never be fully uncovered, and maybe that's the point. The legend of Solomon's mines isn't just about gold. It's about the human desire to find meaning in the past, to connect the dots between myth and reality. Every broken artifact, every faded inscription, every whispered legend is a thread in this vast tapestry, pulling us deeper into history's mysteries. And who knows, somewhere beneath the shifting sands or hidden in the ruins of a forgotten city, there might still be a glimmer of truth waiting to be found, not just about Solomon's wealth, but about the world he once ruled. The Amber Room, just the name sounds like something out of a fairy tale, doesn't it? A chamber entirely covered in golden amber, its walls shimmering with intricate mosaics, framed by gilded mirrors and studded with precious gemstones. It was a masterpiece so dazzling that historians called it the eighth wonder of the world. Crafted in Prussia in the early 18th century, the room was a diplomatic gift to Peter the Great, a symbol of alliance between nations. For centuries, it stood in the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg, a breathtaking testament to human artistry, until it vanished without a trace during the chaos of World War II. The story of its disappearance reads like a spy thriller. As Nazi forces advanced into Russia, curators scrambled to protect the Amber Room, covering its panels with wallpaper in a desperate attempt to hide its value. But the ruse failed. German soldiers, recognizing its worth, dismantled the entire chamber piece by piece, packed it into crates, and shipped it to Königsberg Castle in what is now Kaliningrad. And then nothing. The trail goes cold. Some say the room was destroyed in Allied bombing raids, reduced to ashes in the firestorm that consumed the castle. Others whisper of secret Nazi trains loaded with looted treasures, vanishing into the night. There are even claims that the crates were smuggled into hidden bunkers, submerged in forgotten lakes, or buried deep beneath the earth, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The mystery has spawned decades of obsession. Treasure hunters have scoured old military records, followed cryptic clues, and even dived into murky lakes, hoping to catch a glimmer of amber beneath the silt. In the 1970s, fragments of the room's mosaics turned up in the hands of a German soldier's family, reigniting hopes that more might still be out there. Then, in 2003, a painstaking reconstruction of the Amber Room was completed in Russia, a near-perfect replica that lets visitors step back into its golden glow. But the original, it remains one of history's great enigmas, a ghost of gilded splendor lost to time. So why does this story captivate us so deeply? Maybe it's the sheer audacity of the theft, the idea that something so magnificent could simply disappear. Or maybe it's the lingering question, could it still exist, somewhere in a forgotten warehouse, a sealed bunker, or at the bottom of a lake? Might those amber panels still be waiting, their golden light undimmed by the years? The hunt continues, not just for the treasure itself, but for the truth behind its fate. Because the Amber Room isn't just a lost artifact, it's a puzzle, a challenge, a reminder that even in our modern world, some mysteries refuse to stay buried. The Knights Templar, just uttering their name, conjures images of hooded warriors, sacred relics, and vaults overflowing with gold. This elite order of monk soldiers began as humble protectors of pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land, but within 2 centuries, they transformed into the medieval world's most powerful bankers, landowners, and warriors. Their wealth wasn't just legendary, it was real. They owned estates across Europe, operated an early international banking system, and even funded kings. But when King Philip IV of France, drowning in debt to the Templars, turned on them in 1307, their treasure vanished overnight. The question that's haunted historians for centuries is simple: where did it all go? Some believe the riches were seized by the French crown, melted down to fill royal coffers. Others argue the Templars saw their downfall coming and smuggled their wealth to safety. Theories abound. Perhaps their treasure lies beneath the ruins of Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland, its walls carved with cryptic symbols pointing to hidden chambers. Or maybe it's entombed beneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where the order first made its headquarters. Then there's the tantalizing rumor that the Templars didn't just hide gold but sacred artifacts, the Ark of the Covenant, fragments of the true cross, or even the Holy Grail itself. These weren't just objects of unimaginable value, they were relics of divine power capable of reshaping history. The intrigue deepens when you consider the Templars' sudden dissolution. Arrested on false charges of heresy, many members were tortured into confessing, while others fled into the shadows. Some historians suggest survivors regrouped in secret, forming underground networks that evolved into modern fraternal orders. Could groups like the Freemasons hold the keys to the Templars' lost wealth? Their rituals and symbols bear striking resemblances to those of the medieval knights, fueling speculation that the treasure wasn't just hidden, it was guarded, passed down through generations of initiates sworn to secrecy. But here's the twist: the real treasure might not be gold or relics at all. The Templars' true legacy could be their revolutionary ideas. Their banking system laid the groundwork for modern finance, and their international network foreshadowed globalization. Perhaps the lost hoard was never physical riches but knowledge, carefully preserved in coded manuscripts or whispered traditions. After all, the Templars were more than warriors. They were scholars, diplomats, and visionaries. Their disappearance didn't erase their influence, it just drove it underground, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. So does the Templar treasure still exist? The answer depends on what you're searching for. If it's chests of gold, they may have been scattered to the winds centuries ago. But if it's the echoes of their power, the shadow of their secrets, then the hunt is far from over. Every crumbling castle wall, every faded parchment, every half-remembered legend could be a clue, and the greatest treasure might not be what was lost, but the mystery itself. The Spanish conquest of the Inca Empire was a collision of worlds, one fueled by gold, the other by survival. When Francisco Pizarro captured the Inca ruler Atahualpa in 1532, the ransom demanded was staggering: a room filled with gold, twice over with silver, a king's ransom meant to buy freedom. The Incas delivered, melting down sacred artifacts, stripping temples, and hauling untold wealth to the Spanish. But here's what history often overlooks: the Incas knew the conquerors would never keep their word. Even as they handed over treasures, whispers spread of caravans slipping into the night, laden with gold the Spanish would never see. Some say these secret trains carried the empire's most precious relics deep into the jungle, to a place called Petiti, a city so hidden even the stars couldn't guide outsiders to its gates. For centuries, Petiti has been the holy grail of lost Inca gold, a legend wrapped in vines and mist. Indigenous accounts describe a sanctuary where priests guarded golden sun discs, where temples shone with the wealth of a civilization refusing to surrender its soul. Spanish chronicles mention expeditions vanishing into the Amazon, lured by tales of a kingdom richer than Cusco, but the jungle swallowed them whole. Modern explorers haven't fared much better. In the 1970s, a Japanese adventurer claimed to find stone ruins in Peru's Madre de Dios region, sparking a frenzy. Satellite images later revealed strange geometric shapes under the canopy. Could these be terraces, roads, the bones of a forgotten city? Yet every step toward Petiti seems to dissolve into myth, leaving behind only questions. What makes this mystery so compelling isn't just the gold, it's the symbolism. Petiti isn't merely a treasure vault, it's a story of resistance. The Incas didn't just hide wealth, they hid their culture, their gods, their very identity from destruction. Some scholars argue Petiti was never a physical place but a spiritual refuge, a metaphor for the Incas' unbroken spirit. Others point to discoveries like the ruins of Vilcabamba, the last stronghold of the Inca resistance, as proof that fragments of their world still linger in the green shadows. The truth may lie somewhere in between a real city, perhaps less grand than legend claims, but no less sacred to those who sought to protect it. So why does Petiti still call to us? Maybe because it represents the ultimate explorer's paradox. The closer you get, the more it slips away. Every cracked pottery shard, every petroglyph hidden by moss, feels like a breadcrumb left by people who refuse to be erased. The jungle guards its secrets fiercely, and Petiti may forever hover at the edge of discovery, just real enough to tantalize, just elusive enough to remind us that some treasures aren't meant to be owned, only dreamed of. Whether it's out there or not, the legend endures not as a map to gold, but as a testament to the lengths a people will go to preserve what they hold sacred. The Copper Scroll isn't like the other Dead Sea Scrolls. It doesn't contain prophecies or sacred texts. Instead, it's a cold, cryptic ledger of buried treasure, etched onto sheets of oxidized metal so fragile that scholars had to cut it open to read its secrets. Written in ancient Hebrew around 2,000 years ago, it lists 64 locations where staggering amounts of gold, silver, and precious artifacts were supposedly hidden. We're talking about quantities that would dwarf most modern fortunes: tons of silver, hundreds of gold bars, even priestly vestments and ritual objects from the Second Temple. But here's the twist: the directions are maddeningly vague. Phrases like, "in the ruin that is in the valley," or "under the stairway of the upper reservoir," leave more questions than answers. It's as if the scribe wanted only the initiated to understand, or maybe never intended the treasure to be found at all. This isn't just some dusty artifact, it's a real-life treasure map that sparked expeditions, rival theories, and outright obsession. Some scholars believe the scroll describes the hidden wealth of the Jerusalem temple, smuggled away before the Romans sacked the city in 70 CE. Others argue it's a clever fabrication, a medieval forgery, or even an ancient prank. But the most tantalizing theory, that the scroll is genuine, and the treasures it describes still lie buried in the rocky hills of modern-day Israel and Jordan, waiting for someone to crack the code. The hunt has led explorers to dig near Jericho's ancient aqueducts, sift through caves in the Judean desert, and even scan the Dead Sea shores with ground-penetrating radar. In the 1950s, one team followed the scroll's clues to a spot near the temple mount, only to hit a literal dead end when authorities blocked further excavation. Decades later, another researcher claimed to find a hidden chamber beneath a Jerusalem monastery, matching one of the scroll's descriptions, but the trail vanished as quickly as it appeared. The challenge isn't just the cryptic language, it's the landscape itself. 2 millennia of earthquakes, wars, and erosion have reshaped the terrain, turning landmarks into ghosts. Yet the mystery endures, not just for the treasure, but for what it represents. If the copper scroll is real, it's a time capsule from a civilization on the brink of collapse, a desperate attempt to preserve sacred wealth from destruction. If it's a hoax, it's one of history's most elaborate, a 2,000-year-old puzzle designed to outwit us all. Either way, the scroll forces us to confront a tantalizing question. How much of history's greatest wealth is still out there, hidden in plain sight, just waiting for the right set of eyes to see it? The copper scroll doesn't give up its secrets easily, but then again, the best treasures never do. The legend of Yamashita's gold is a tale woven from the chaos of war, greed, and the desperate final days of an empire. As World War II reached its climax, Japanese forces under General Tomoyuki Yamashita faced inevitable defeat in the Philippines. But before retreating, they allegedly carried out one of history's most audacious heists, systematically looting temples, banks, and private vaults across Southeast Asia, then burying the stolen wealth deep within the Philippine jungle. The numbers alone are staggering. Estimates suggest billions in gold bars, gemstones, and ancient artifacts were hidden in elaborate tunnel systems, booby-trapped and sealed away with the hope of funding Japan's resurgence. Yet when the war ended, the treasure's whereabouts vanished into rumor, leaving behind a mystery that's tantalized hunters for generations. What makes this story so compelling isn't just the scale of the loot, it's the shadowy figures who have chased it. In the 1970s, a former Filipino president's son claimed to have found part of the hoard, only for the discovery to be shrouded in legal battles and whispers of government seizures. Then there's Rogelio Roxas, a treasure hunter who swore he'd uncovered a golden Buddha statue in a hidden chamber, only to have it allegedly confiscated by the regime of Ferdinand Marcos. These accounts aren't just about gold, they're about power, corruption, and the lengths people will go to control a legend. Even the CIA reportedly investigated, with declassified documents hinting at covert recoveries, though what was found, if anything, remains classified. But here's the twist: the truth might be stranger than fiction. Some historians argue Yamashita's gold is a myth, a post-war exaggeration spun from fragmented accounts. They point to the lack of concrete evidence, the logistical nightmare of moving such vast quantities under Allied bombardment, and the fact that many discoveries have turned out to be elaborate hoaxes. Yet others counter with physical clues: abandoned Japanese engineering projects in the Philippines, cryptic maps etched on rice paper, and the testimonies of aging soldiers who spoke of midnight excavations in the jungle. One thing's certain: the Philippines' terrain, with its labyrinthine caves and volcanic tunnels, is the perfect hiding place for secrets meant to stay buried. So why does this legend endure? Maybe it's the romantic idea of lost treasure, waiting for some modern-day adventurer to stumble upon it. Or maybe it's darker, a reminder of war's hidden legacies, of stolen art and pillaged heritage that still hasn't found its way home. Every rusted shovel mark in those hills, every faded military diary, is a thread in a story that refuses to end. And whether the gold is real or not, the hunt itself has become its own kind of treasure, a testament to humanity's endless fascination with what might lie just beneath the surface. Off the foggy coast of Nova Scotia lies a small, unassuming island with a legend so stubborn it's consumed fortunes and lifetimes. Oak Island's so-called money pit isn't just a hole in the ground. It's a riddle wrapped in layers of engineering, booby traps, and whispers of unimaginable treasure. The story begins in 1795, when a teenager named Daniel Maginnis stumbled upon a peculiar depression in the earth, its edges lined with flagstones and marked by an old ship's pulley hanging from a tree. To him, it screamed one thing, pirates, because in the late 18th century, if there was a hole in the ground with signs of human effort, it had to hide Captain Kidd's loot, right? But what started as a boy's adventure soon spiraled into a 200-year obsession, drawing in engineers, tycoons, and even a young Franklin D. Roosevelt, all lured by the promise of solving the puzzle. Digging into the money pit is like stepping into a cursed Indiana Jones script. Every few feet, crews hit wooden platforms, layers of logs, coconut fiber, and putty, some dating back to the 1500s. Then, at around 90 feet, the real nightmare begins. Tunnels from a nearby beach flood the shaft with seawater, no matter how much you pump out. It's as if the pit was designed to defy excavation. Over the centuries, 6 men have died trying to breach its secrets, and millions of dollars have vanished into its muddy depths. Yet the artifacts keep teasing hunters: a scrap of parchment with inked letters, a wrought iron hinge, and even a Spanish copper coin from the 1600s. Each find fuels the fire. Is this proof of a meticulously hidden treasure, or just debris left behind by generations of desperate diggers? The theories are as wild as they are varied. Some swear the pit holds the lost manuscripts of Shakespeare, smuggled out of England by Francis Bacon's followers. Others believe it's the final vault of the Knights Templar, who allegedly sailed to North America with sacred relics before their downfall. Then there's the pirate angle, that the notorious Captain Kidd or Blackbeard stashed their plunder here, engineering the world's most diabolical security system. But the most chilling possibility, that the entire thing is an elaborate decoy, a sinkhole dressed up with human-made touches to send treasure hunters on a futile chase. After all, the only thing more valuable than gold might be the legend itself, a story so compelling it spawned TV shows, investor syndicates, and a modern-day treasure hunt still unfolding today. Modern technology hasn't made the mystery any easier. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed unnatural voids deep underground, and sonar scans hint at metal deposits in flooded chambers. In 2016, workers drilled into a mysterious cavity and pulled up traces of gold, not enough to prove a hoard, but enough to keep hope alive. Yet Oak Island mocks certainty. Every breakthrough is met with a setback, every clue with a counter-argument. Maybe that's the real genius of whoever built this thing, if anyone built it at all. Because after 2 centuries of digging, the only guarantee is this: the island doesn't give up its secrets easily. Whether there's treasure below or just the ghost of a prank played by long-dead hands, the money pit endures as the ultimate test of human stubbornness. And as long as that pulley still hangs in the imagination of adventurers, the digging and the dreaming will never stop. Buried beneath a quiet mound in China's Shaanxi province lies one of history's most tantalizing secrets, the untouched tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the ruthless visionary who united China under a single empire more than 2,000 years ago. While the world marvels at his terracotta army, those silent clay soldiers are just the outer guard, a mere glimpse of what might await in the emperor's sealed burial chamber. Ancient historians like Sima Qian wrote of palaces built underground, ceilings inlaid with pearls to mimic the night sky, and rivers of shimmering mercury flowing through miniature landscapes. But here's the chilling part. Modern tests have detected unusually high levels of mercury in the soil around the tomb, suggesting those ancient accounts might be more than just legend. The sheer scale of Qin Shi Huang's ambition is staggering. This was a man so obsessed with immortality that he sent expeditions to mythical islands in search of elixirs, consumed mercury-laced pills believing they'd grant eternal life, and designed his tomb as a microcosm of his empire, complete with booby traps to deter intruders. Archaeologists have barely scratched the surface, both literally and figuratively. The terracotta army itself, discovered by farmers in 1974, was an accidental find. Thousands of life-sized warriors, each with unique facial features, standing in battle formation for centuries without anyone knowing they existed. If that's just the outer perimeter, what does that say about the treasures hidden at the tomb's heart? Yet the tomb remains sealed, and for good reason. Opening it isn't as simple as lifting a lid, it's a delicate dance with time. The same airtight conditions that may have preserved artifacts for millennia could also cause them to crumble upon exposure to modern air. Silk banners, lacquerware, even the emperor's own remains could disintegrate before our eyes, leaving nothing but dust and regret. Then there's the mercury. If those underground rivers are real, disturbing them could release toxic vapors, putting excavators at risk. And let's not forget the rumored traps, crossbows rigged to fire at intruders, pits lined with spikes, or even collapsing tunnels. The ancient Chinese didn't just bury their dead, they engineered nightmares for grave robbers. But the biggest question isn't just what's inside, it's whether we'll ever see it. Chinese authorities have taken a cautious approach, prioritizing preservation over curiosity. Advanced technology like ground-penetrating radar and muon detectors have mapped anomalies within the mound, hinting at vast chambers and metallic objects, but these are just shadows on a screen. Some argue the tomb should never be opened, that some secrets are meant to stay buried. Others counter that the knowledge we'd gain about ancient engineering, artistry, and even Qin Shi Huang's psyche is worth the risk. After all, this isn't just a treasure hunt. It's a chance to touch the mind of a man who shaped history, whose legacy still echoes in the Great Wall and the very idea of a unified China. So for now, the tomb sits silent, its mysteries locked away. The terracotta army stands watch, their unblinking eyes a reminder that the past isn't always ready to give up its secrets. Maybe one day, technology will advance far enough to peer inside without disturbing a single grain of soil. Or maybe the tomb will keep its guard up forever, leaving us to wonder what riches or warnings lie in the dark beneath that unassuming hill. Either way, Qin Shi Huang has the last laugh, his greatest treasure still just out of reach, just as he intended. The Superstition Mountains rise from the Arizona desert like jagged teeth, their cliffs scarred by time and whispered secrets. At their heart lies the legend of the lost Dutchman's mine, a tale of gold and death that's lured hundreds to their doom. The story begins with Jacob Waltz, a German immigrant who supposedly struck gold in the 1800s. On his deathbed, he whispered cryptic clues about a vein so rich, nuggets littered the ground like pebbles. But here's where the mystery thickens. Waltz wasn't even Dutch. The nickname Dutchman was a common mislabeling of German immigrants at the time, and that's just the first twist in a saga riddled with contradictions. What makes this legend so haunting isn't just the promise of treasure, it's the price tag. The mountains have claimed lives for generations. In 1891, 2 prospectors were found shot in the back, their heads crushed by rocks. In 1947, a man named James Cravey parachuted into the range, convinced he'd decoded Waltz's clues. Searchers later found his decapitated skull. Even trained explorers haven't been spared. In 2010, 3 seasoned hikers vanished without a trace, their campsite eerily intact, as if they'd simply stepped into thin air. The Apache have long warned of Tuatums, the evil spirits guarding these peaks, and the string of disappearances gives their stories chilling weight. But is the mine real, or just a mirage fueled by greed and desperation? Geologists point to the mountain's volcanic origins. Gold deposits here are plausible, though no major vein has ever been documented. Skeptics argue the Dutchman's tale was a smokescreen, a way for Waltz to throw rivals off the scent of his real claim elsewhere. Others believe the legend snowballed from a kernel of truth, perhaps a small cash waltz exaggerated to impress his neighbors. Yet the clues left behind are tantalizing. Witnesses reported seeing waltz with gold flecked with quartz, a signature of the superstitions. And then there's the Peralta stones, a set of carved rocks allegedly marking the route to the mine, though many dismiss them as an elaborate 20th century hoax. The real treasure might not be gold at all, but the lesson woven into the legend. The superstitions don't discriminate. They've swallowed the naive and the expert alike, a reminder that nature's secrets aren't easily surrendered. Every rusted pickaxe found wedged in the rocks, every sun-bleached map fluttering in the wind, tells the same story. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. And maybe that's the point. The Dutchman's mine endures not because it's waiting to be found, but because it keeps us wondering about the limits of human ambition, the power of myth, and the invisible line between perseverance and folly. After all, the deadliest thing in those mountains isn't the heat or the cliffs. It's the hope that around the next bend, gleaming just out of reach, lies the answer to a riddle written in gold and blood. The Sierra Madre Mountains stretch like a spine through Mexico, their rugged peaks hiding secrets that have fueled dreams and nightmares for centuries. While Hollywood immortalized these gold-rich hills in films like The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, the real stories etched into these slopes are far stranger than fiction. Picture this: bandits ambushing Spanish mule trains laden with bullion, miners vanishing into labyrinthine tunnels, and lone prospectors stumbling upon veins of gold so pure they could bend it with their teeth. But for every tale of fortune, there's a darker counterpart: whispers of curses, of men driven mad by greed, of skeletons found clutching rusted picks in long abandoned shafts. What makes these mountains so alluring isn't just the gold, it's the duality of the hunt. On one hand, you have documented strikes like the El Oro district, where mines produced staggering wealth in the 19th century. Even today, small-scale miners sift through riverbeds, occasionally pulling out nuggets that keep the dream alive. But then there are the legends, like that of the Lost Padre mine, said to be a Jesuit treasure vault hidden deep in the wilderness. Spanish missionaries allegedly amassed gold to fund their missions, only to bury it when the crown turned against them. Maps surfaced over the years, scribbled on animal hides or etched into stone, but no one's ever proven its existence. The line between fact and fantasy gets murkier when you consider the human element. Take the case of the Burro Mountains in New Mexico, just north of the Sierra Madre proper. In the 1880s, a German immigrant named Karl Lombach claimed to find a canyon glittering with gold, only to disappear before he could file his claim. Decades later, hikers found his journal wedged in a crevice, its pages filled with frantic sketches and warnings about eyes in the dark. Was it delirium or something more sinister? Then there's the infamous Devil's Highway, a stretch of desert where prospectors' bones still bake under the sun, their canteens drained dry. Modern technology hasn't tamed the Sierra Madre's mysteries. Satellite imagery reveals ancient mining scars hidden by vegetation, while drones map cave systems too treacherous to explore on foot, yet the land fights back. In 2014, a team using ground-penetrating radar claimed to detect a cavern filled with metallic objects only for a landslide to seal the entrance days later. Locals shrugged, muttering about duendes, the trickster spirits said to guard the mountain's wealth. Even science struggles to explain the oddities, magnetic anomalies deep in the rock, or the eerie fact that compasses spin wildly near certain cliffs, as if the earth itself refuses to give up its secrets. So what's really out there? The answer might lie somewhere between geology and folklore. the Sierra Madre's gold is undeniable, assay reports and museum collections prove that. But the legends, they're less about metal and more about the human heart. Every crumbling map, every rusted spur, every campfire story is a thread in a tapestry woven from equal parts hope and desperation. Whether the next great strike is waiting in some uncharted canyon or forever lost to time, one thing's certain: the Sierra Madre doesn't surrender its treasures easily. And maybe that's why we keep looking, not just for gold, but for the thrill of standing on the edge of the unknown, where every shadow could hide a fortune or a fate. Standing guard on the Giza Plateau for over 4,500 years, the Great Sphinx has watched empires rise and fall, but its most tantalizing secrets may still lie buried beneath its weathered paws. While tourists marvel at its imposing silhouette, few realize this ancient sentinel might be more than just a monument. Legends speak of hidden passageways snaking beneath its limestone bulk, chambers untouched since the age of the pharaohs. The first written account comes from the Roman historian Pliny the Elder, who described a subterranean labyrinth beneath the Sphinx, a repository of all celestial knowledge. Centuries later, Arab chroniclers told of a secret door in its side, leading to a hall of artifacts and scrolls from a lost civilization. But these weren't just fanciful tales. Modern technology has given them unsettling credibility. Ground-penetrating radar scans in the 1990s detected anomalies beneath the Sphinx's front paws, rectangular cavities resembling man-made chambers. One survey even revealed a large, hollow space beneath the statue's left flank, its dimensions matching descriptions from ancient texts. Then there's the infamous Hall of Records, a mythical archive said to contain the wisdom of Atlantis, allegedly hidden beneath the Sphinx by survivors of that fabled kingdom. While mainstream archaeologists dismiss this as New Age fantasy, the theory gained unexpected traction when renowned seismologist Dr. Robert Schoch identified water erosion patterns on the Sphinx's body, suggesting it might be thousands of years older than traditionally believed, from a time when the Giza Plateau was lush with rain. Could earlier civilizations have built it, then sealed their knowledge below? The intrigue deepened in 2017 when a team using advanced muon tomography, a technique that essentially X-rays solid rock, detected a void roughly the size of a passenger plane behind the statue's north face. Egyptologists scrambled to explain it, proposing natural fissures or unfinished quarry work, but the precision of the void's shape left room for doubt. Meanwhile, declassified documents from the 1930s revealed that French engineer Émile Barrès, while restoring the Sphinx, allegedly discovered a tunnel leading downward from beneath its head. According to his notes, the passage was abruptly sealed by authorities, a detail that fuels speculation to this day. But let's be clear, not every mystery implies treasure. Some scholars argue these anomalies are simply construction gaps or geological quirks, their significance inflated by generations of wishful thinking. After all, the Sphinx was carved from a single limestone outcrop, and hollow spaces could be the result of ancient repairs or even pockets left by fossilized sea creatures in the rock. Yet the persistence of these stories raises a compelling question. Why would so many cultures, separated by centuries, all describe hidden chambers beneath the same monument? Whether it's gold, scrolls, or simply the truth about our forgotten past, the Sphinx seems determined to keep its secrets, at least for now. Perhaps the real treasure isn't what lies beneath the Sphinx, but the questions it forces us to ask. Every scan, every excavation, every whispered legend is a reminder that history isn't a closed book. It's a puzzle with missing pieces, waiting for the right hands to fit them together. And until those chambers, if they exist, are finally opened, the Sphinx will keep its silent vigil, its riddles echoing through the ages, challenging us to look beyond what we think we know. The legend of the Nibelungen's treasure begins with a whisper of gold and a curse that echoes through centuries, a story so powerful it shaped empires and fueled nightmares. At its heart is the Nibelungen, an epic poem penned around the year 1200, but rooted in much older Germanic and Norse sagas. It tells of Siegfried, the dragon-slaying hero who seizes a vast golden hoard from the dwarf Alberich, only to have it bring doom upon everyone who touches it. This isn't just a fairy tale. The gold's curse follows a bloody trail, from Siegfried's murder to the fiery annihilation of an entire royal dynasty. But here's where history blurs with myth. Some scholars believe this treasure wasn't just poetic fantasy, but a distorted memory of real Frankish wealth plundered during the migration period, when Rome's fall sent waves of chaos across Europe. Take the Huns, for example. The Nibelungen's villain, Attila the Hun, wasn't just a mythical brute. He was a real conqueror who amassed staggering riches from sacked cities. Historians note that 5th century Hunnic hoards, like the famous Pietrosa treasure in Romania, contained gold artifacts of Roman and Gothic origin, exactly the kind of loot that could inspire legends. Then there's the Burgundians, a Germanic tribe whose real-life downfall mirrors the Nibelungen's tragic end. In the year 437, they were annihilated by Hunnic forces near the Rhine, their kingdom erased overnight. Could their lost royal treasury be the cursed gold of legend? The timing fits and the symbolism is chilling, a people's wealth becoming their downfall, just like in the epic. But the story takes a darker turn in modern times. Wagner's opera cycle Der Ring des Nibelungen twisted the legend into a nationalist fantasy, its imagery later co-opted by the Nazis. Hitler's inner circle became obsessed with locating the treasure, believing it held occult power. Heinrich Himmler even sent SS archaeologists to scour the Rhine for traces of the Burgundian hoard, convinced it would fund the Third Reich. The irony, their hunt mirrored the Nibelungen's own warning that greed for gold leads only to ruin. So where might this treasure lie today? The Rhine remains the prime suspect. In the 1980s, a diver near Worms, the legendary home of the Burgundians, found a cache of 5th century gold coins, sparking frenzied speculation. Other theories point to the Danube's depths or forgotten caves in the Harz Mountains, where medieval miners spoke of dwarf gold, but the truth might be more elusive. Gold moves, melts down, gets recast. What began as Roman coins could have become a Frankish king's arm, band, then a Viking trader's ingot, its origins erased with each hand it passed through. Perhaps the real curse isn't on the gold itself, but on our inability to let the mystery go. The Nibelungen endures because it taps into something primal, the fear that wealth always comes at a price, that every glittering fortune has blood beneath its shine. Whether the treasure was real or not, its legacy is undeniable. A story that has outlived empires, a warning carved not in stone, but in the human imagination. And that, in the end, might be the only hoard that never fades. The final days of the Confederacy weren't just marked by surrender. They were steeped in desperation, chaos, and the frantic scramble to protect what remained of the South's wealth. As Union forces closed in on Richmond in April 1865, Confederate officials loaded wagons with gold, silver, and precious artifacts from the treasury, determined to keep it out of enemy hands. Eyewitness accounts describe a midnight caravan slipping out of the burning capital, guarded by soldiers and shadowy figures who knew the stakes. This wasn't just money, it was the last hope of a crumbling government, and its disappearance would become one of history's most enduring financial mysteries. Where that treasure ended up depends on who you ask. Some swear it was buried in the Georgia woods near Washington, where locals still whisper of a pit lined with rusted picks and bones. Others point to Danville, Virginia, where Confederate President Jefferson Davis allegedly handed off crates of gold to a trusted courier, only for the man and the fortune to vanish without a trace. Then there's the wilder theory that a daring group shipped the gold to England, stashing it in Liverpool banks under false names to fund a future rebellion. The paper trail is tantalizing. Confederate agents did operate overseas, and British financial records from the era show suspicious deposits matching the treasure's estimated value. But without concrete proof, these leads dissolve into speculation. The most compelling twist: some of the gold might have been hiding in plain sight all along. In 1901, construction workers in Columbus, Georgia, unearthed a cache of gold coins beneath an old church coins minted by the Confederacy. Were these remnants of the lost treasury or just a private stash? The debate raged, but the discovery fueled rumors that more caches lay scattered across the South, buried in haste by officials who never lived to retrieve them. Even today, treasure hunters comb backroads with metal detectors, chasing shadows of a fortune that could rewrite Civil War history. But here's what often gets overlooked: the human drama behind the hunt. That fleeing caravan wasn't just carrying coins, it carried the dreams of a failed cause. Some guards reportedly deserted, stealing portions of the gold for themselves. Others, like the legendary Captain William H. Parker, claimed to have turned over their share to the Confederate government's last stand in Florida, only for it to disappear into bureaucratic limbo. And then there are the darker tales of ambushes, double crosses, and bodies found in shallow graves along backcountry trails, their pockets stuffed with Confederate banknotes now worthless as kindling. The truth may never be fully uncovered. War ravages records, memories fade, and gold has a way of slipping through fingers. But the legend persists because it's more than just a treasure hunt. It's a window into those frantic final days when a nation's collapse left behind not just ruins but riddles. Every rusted button dug up in a Georgia field, every faded ledger entry in a London archive is a clue to a story that refuses to stay buried. And whether the gold still sits beneath the red clay of the South or was melted down decades ago, one thing's certain: the Confederacy's lost treasure has already left its mark, not in metal, but in the enduring power of a mystery that keeps us digging. The vast Eurasian steppes stretch endlessly under the open sky, a sea of grass hiding the bones of kings and the gleam of forgotten gold. Here, the Scythians, those fearsome horse lords who struck terror into the hearts of ancient Greeks and Persians, built their burial mounds or kurgans as monuments to power that would outlast empires. These weren't just graves, they were vaults of unimaginable wealth, packed with golden treasures meant to accompany warrior kings into the afterlife. Recent excavations in Siberia's frozen valleys have pulled back the curtain on this nomadic civilization, revealing artifacts so intricate they rival the masterpieces of Athens or Persepolis. Golden stags with fluid, leaping forms, delicate combs depicting battle scenes in stunning detail, even armor plates embossed with mythical beasts. Each piece whispers of a culture far more sophisticated than their barbarian reputation suggests. But here's what's staggering: we've only scratched the surface. Thousands of kurgans still dot the landscape from Ukraine to Mongolia, their earthen domes standing like silent sentinels over secrets buried for millennia. The sheer scale of these mounds hints at what might lie beneath. Some stretch over 300 feet wide, their chambers descending deep into the permafrost. Archaeologists working at sites like Arjun in Tuva have uncovered tombs where chieftains were laid to rest with sacrificed horses, their bridles dripping with gold, and carpets of sable fur stitched with golden thread. Yet for every kurgan excavated, a dozen remain untouched, either out of respect for local traditions or because the technology to preserve their fragile contents simply doesn't exist yet. The real mystery isn't just the gold, it's the stories it tells. The Scythians left no written records, but their art speaks volumes. A single golden pectoral from the Tolstaya Mogila kurgan in Ukraine depicts scenes of astonishing intimacy: shepherds milking sheep, warriors stitching wounds, even a man pulling a thorn from his foot. These aren't just decorations, they're snapshots of a vibrant, complex society that moved seamlessly between war and poetry. The Greeks wrote of them as savage drinkers of blood, but their gold reveals a people who revered beauty as much as battle. And then there's the chilling side of these discoveries. Some kurgans show evidence of grim rituals, bodies contorted in agony, traces of hallucinogenic herbs in their bones, suggesting the Scythians' afterlife beliefs were as intense as their lives. Herodotus claimed they slaughtered 50 horsemen and 50 horses to guard a king's tomb, and recent finds in the Altai Mountains seem to confirm his grisly accounts. Yet even death couldn't protect these hordes forever. Many kurgans show signs of ancient looting, their treasures scattered by grave robbers who braved curses and collapsing tunnels. So why does this golden legacy still captivate us? Maybe because the Scythians represent the ultimate paradox, a people who lived without cities, yet left behind art that rivals the finest civilizations of their age. Their gold wasn't just wealth, it was identity, a way to scream across the centuries that they mattered. And with new technologies like ground-penetrating radar and drone surveys, we're on the cusp of uncovering even more. Who knows what still waits beneath those grassy mounds? A golden crown set with Caspian turquoise, a sword hilt inlaid with the tears of the gods, or perhaps something even more precious, the key to understanding a people who rode like the wind and vanished into legend, leaving only their gold to tell their tale. Heinrich Schliemann's obsession with Troy began with a dog-eared copy of Homer's Iliad clutched in his hands, a childhood dream that would ignite one of archaeology's most dramatic and divisive discoveries. In 1873, while digging through the layered ruins of Hisarlik in modern-day Turkey, Schliemann's team uncovered a glittering hoard, golden diadems, intricately coiled bracelets, and a cascade of earrings so finely crafted they seemed to whisper of a lost royal court. With theatrical flair, Schliemann declared it Priam's treasure, named after the legendary king of Troy from Homer's epic. The world gasped. Here, it seemed, was proof that the Trojan War wasn't just myth, it was history, unearthed by a self-taught adventurer who'd bet his reputation on a poet's words. But almost immediately, the cracks in Schliemann's story began to show. His excavation methods were more demolition than science, using dynamite and brute force to blast through layers of the ancient city, potentially destroying irreplaceable context in his rush to find gold. Critics pointed out that the treasure wasn't found in the layer corresponding to Homer's Troy, but in an earlier stratum, dating centuries before the supposed era of Priam and Helen. Even more damning, Schliemann's own wife, Sophia, was famously photographed wearing the jewels of Helen, a publicity stunt that smacked of embellishment. Had he staged the discovery, mixed artifacts from different digs, or worse, smuggled in pieces from elsewhere to fit his narrative, the questions piled up faster than the dirt he'd displaced. The treasure's tumultuous journey after its discovery only deepened the mystery. Smuggled out of the Ottoman Empire, allegedly hidden in Sophia's shawl, it eventually landed in Berlin's Museum Feuerwehr und Frühgeschichte, only to vanish at the end of World War II. Soviet troops reportedly seized it as spoils of war, secreting it away in Moscow's Pushkin Museum, where it remains today, a diplomatic hot potato between nations. Modern analyses have added fuel to the fire. Some gold work shows technical similarities to artifacts from the Caucasus, while certain designs seem out of place for Bronze Age Troy. Could Schliemann have enhanced his find with unrelated pieces, stitching together a treasure that never existed as a whole? Yet for all the controversy, Schliemann's legacy is a paradox. His reckless methods would horrify modern archaeologists, but his sheer audacity forced academia to take Homer's Troy seriously. Later, more meticulous excavations confirmed Hisarlik as the historical Troy, even if Priam's treasure's origins remain murky. The gold itself, wherever it came from, is undeniably ancient, a testament to the skill of Bronze Age artisans. Perhaps the real treasure isn't the jewelry at all, but the lesson Schliemann's story imparts, that the line between myth and history isn't always clear, and sometimes the pursuit of one man's dream can rewrite our understanding of the past, even if that dream is tangled with lies. So was it Priam's treasure? The answer may depend on who you ask. For romantics, it's a glittering link to Homer's heroes. For skeptics, a cautionary tale of ego and excavation. But one thing's certain, the gold of Troy, real or reconstructed, still shines as brightly as the legends that inspired its discovery. A reminder that sometimes the most valuable finds aren't the ones we dig up, but the questions we uncover along the way. The greatest treasures of the ancient world weren't always locked in chests or buried beneath temples. Sometimes they were written on parchment, inked onto scrolls, or carved into clay tablets. Imagine walking the halls of the Library of Alexandria at its peak, where scholars from across the Mediterranean poured over 500,000 texts containing everything from Euclid's geometry to lost plays of Sophocles. Then, in a heartbeat, it was gone. The famous fire that consumed the library wasn't just a loss of books, it was a black hole in human knowledge, swallowing entire civilizations' worth of thought, science, and art. But here's the haunting question: what if not all of it burned? Whispers persist that some scrolls were smuggled to safety, hidden in subterranean vaults or shipped to distant sanctuaries. The idea that fragments of this lost wisdom might still exist is the kind of mystery that keeps historians awake at night. Then there's the Vatican's secret archives, a name that conjures images of shadowy corridors lined with forbidden knowledge. While much of its collection is now accessible to scholars, rumors swirl about sealed sections, documents so explosive they could append religious history or reveal untold chapters of science. Take the case of the Voynich manuscript, that cryptic, illustrated book written in an unbreakable code, now housed at Yale but allegedly copied from Vatican sources. If one indecipherable text can captivate the world for centuries, what else might be waiting in those locked chambers? The archives themselves admit to miles of uncatalogued material, some dating back to the earliest days of Christianity. Could there be lost works of Aristotle, suppressed gospels, or even first-hand accounts of events we've only glimpsed through legend? But no lost library sparks the imagination quite like Genghis Khan's. The Mongol conqueror, often painted as a brute, was a patron of learning who looted libraries as ruthlessly as he did gold. Historians speculate that his capital, Karakoram, held texts from every culture his empire touched: Chinese treatises on gunpowder, Persian astronomical charts, even fragments of the Great Library itself. Yet when the Mongols fell, the city was abandoned, its treasures swallowed by the steppe. Modern expeditions have found traces of its walls, but the real prize, those manuscripts, remain elusive. Some believe nomadic guardians still protect caches of scrolls in hidden mountain caves, preserving knowledge too dangerous for the outside world. The allure of these lost libraries isn't just about the texts themselves, it's about the gaps they could fill. A single recovered manuscript might rewrite the history of medicine, prove the existence of forgotten technologies, or reveal voices silenced by time. When archaeologists unearthed the Dead Sea Scrolls, they didn't just find religious texts, they found a window into a world we thought was lost forever. So what else is out there? A clay tablet holding the secrets of Babylonian astronomy, a scroll detailing Cleopatra's lost strategies. The truth is, every crumbling monastery cellar, every sealed cave, every overlooked attic could be hiding a piece of the puzzle. And in a way, that makes the hunt for these treasures even more thrilling than the search for gold, because knowledge, once found, can't be melted down or stolen. It becomes part of us, lighting the way forward just as it illuminates the past. The Fleur de la Mar wasn't just a ship, it was a floating treasury, a galleon so overloaded with riches that its very name became synonymous with lost fortune. When it vanished beneath the waves off the coast of Sumatra in 1511, it took with it a cargo that would be worth billions today. Chests of gold coins minted from Malaccan conquests, sapphires the size of fists, and enough spices to scent an empire. This wasn't just a shipwreck, it was the equivalent of an entire kingdom's wealth swallowed by the sea in a single night. The tragedy unfolded during a violent storm, its wooden hull splitting apart under the weight of its own treasure, sending centuries of accumulated loot tumbling into the depths. Eyewitness accounts describe sailors clinging to debris as the ocean devoured their fortune, their cries drowned by the howling wind. What makes this story so gripping isn't just the scale of the loss, it's the tantalizing proximity of recovery. The Fleur de la Mar went down in relatively shallow waters, not far from the Strait of Malacca, one of the busiest shipping lanes in history. For centuries, treasure hunters have flocked to the area, armed with maps, sonar, and sheer desperation. In the 1980s, a team led by famed explorer Robert Marks claimed to have located the wreck, only for legal battles and murky ownership rights to halt excavation. Then, in 2013, an Indonesian salvage company made headlines with sonar images of a wreck matching the Fleur de la Mar's description, but like so many leads, it dissolved into controversy and dead ends. The ocean, it seems, is determined to keep its prize. Modern technology should have made this an easy hunt. Advanced side-scan sonar can now map the seafloor in astonishing detail, while remotely operated vehicles can dive to depths no human could survive. Yet the Fleur de la Mar resists discovery. Some blame the shifting sands and strong currents of the Malacca Strait, which constantly reshape the seabed, burying and unearthing wrecks like a capricious tide. Others point to the region's labyrinthine politics, where overlapping claims by Malaysia, Indonesia, and private salvagers turn every dive into a diplomatic minefield. Even if the wreck is found, who does the treasure belong to? The descendants of the Portuguese crown, the modern nations whose waters it lies in, or the treasure hunters who risked everything to find it? But here's the haunting twist. Some historians argue the Fleur de la Mar's treasure might never have existed in the form we imagine. Contemporary records are frustratingly vague, and the ship's manifest was lost with it. While there's no doubt it carried immense wealth, the legend has grown with each retelling, blurring the line between fact and folklore. Could the tons of gold be exaggerated? Might the jewels have been scattered across miles of seabed by centuries of storms? The truth may lie somewhere between myth and reality, a fortune just real enough to keep us searching, just elusive enough to remain forever out of reach. Perhaps the real treasure isn't the gold at all, but the story itself. The Fleur de la Mar has become a symbol of human ambition, and its limits a reminder that no matter how much wealth we amass, nature always has the final word. Every failed expedition, every disputed claim, every glimmer of hope dashed by the depths keeps the legend alive. And maybe that's how it should be. Some treasures aren't meant to be owned. They're meant to be dreamed of, a glittering what if just beneath the waves, forever tempting us to look a little deeper. The Hope diamond glows with an eerie blue fire, its 45 carats holding secrets darker than its legendary hue. This gem's journey reads like a Gothic novel beginning in the mines of Golconda, India, where temple priests allegedly cursed it after being stolen by French merchant Jean-Baptiste Tavernier in the 17th century. His fate torn apart by wild dogs, according to rumor, though records suggest he died peacefully in Russia, but the whispers only grew louder when the diamond reached Versailles. King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, who adored its icy brilliance, soon faced the guillotine, their severed heads fueling the myth that the stone carried a death sentence for its owners. Cut to the early 20th century, when American heiress Evelyn Walsh McLean flaunted the diamond as a macabre good luck charm. She wore it to parties while her life unraveled. Her son died in a car crash. Her daughter took her own life, and her husband left her for another woman before ending up in a mental institution. Even the postal carrier who mailed the diamond to the Smithsonian in 1958 reportedly suffered a crushed leg and a house fire shortly after. Coincidence, perhaps, but the pattern is uncanny enough to make skeptics pause. Science offers a less supernatural explanation. The diamond's rare boron content gives it that haunting blue glow, but its true power might lie in human psychology. Curses thrive in the space between fear and desire, the same impulse that makes us recoil from a haunted house while peering inside. The Hope diamond embodies our oldest contradiction, the belief that beauty can be deadly, that extraordinary wealth demands extraordinary sacrifice. Even now, safely displayed behind bulletproof glass in Washington, D.C., it draws crowds who press close, half expecting disaster. The curse's persistence reveals something deeper than superstition. Every stolen artifact carries invisible weight, the violence of its taking, the grief of its loss. The Hope diamond's curse may just be the collective guilt of empires, the unshakable sense that some treasures are never truly owned. So is the diamond cursed, or are we the ones who can't stop cursing ourselves? The answer might lie in the way we still lean closer, mesmerized by its glow, wondering if the next tragedy is already written in its depths. The Mojave Desert burns under a relentless sun, its cracked earth stretching for miles without a whisper of shade, yet buried in its silence lies one of California's strangest legends. Picture this, a Spanish galleon, its sails long turned to dust, its hull cradled by sand dunes as if the ocean itself had abandoned it here. The so-called lost ship of the desert sounds like pure fantasy, but for centuries, prospectors and wanderers have sworn to its existence. Some claim it's a relic of conquistadors who sailed up the Gulf of California, then dragged their vessel inland in a mad search for gold. Others whisper it's a pirate cache, hidden far from the coast to evade capture. The most haunting theory, that it's a ghost ship, glimpsed only at twilight before vanishing into the heat shimmer. What makes this myth so stubborn isn't just the romance, it's the unsettling details that refuse to fit neatly into fiction. In the 1850s, a newspaper in San Francisco chronicled a prospector's account of stumbling upon a massive wooden structure near the Salton Sea, its timbers blackened by age. Decades later, a surveyor named Charlie Klusker swore he found a ship's figurehead carved like a mermaid, half buried near the Chocolate Mountains. Then there's the gold. Tiny nuggets, Spanish coins, and even rusted navigational tools have surfaced in the region, each discovery fueling speculation that something once lay hidden beneath those sands. Skeptics, of course, have their explanations. The ship might be a collapsed mine tunnel, its beams mistaken for a hull by sun-addled travelers. The gold could be remnants of lost Spanish expeditions that did venture into the desert, just without the boat. Even the famous explorer John C. Fremont dismissed the tale after finding nothing but cracked earth and coyote tracks. But here's the twist. Geology suggests the Mojave wasn't always so barren. Centuries ago, flash floods and ancient lakes could have created temporary waterways, making it just possible for a ship to drift inland before the waters receded, stranding it like a fossil in the dunes. Modern technology should have settled the debate, yet the desert guards its secrets fiercely. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed odd, ship-shaped anomalies near the Algodones dunes, but excavations turn up only sand. Satellite imagery picks up nothing definitive. Even drones capable of scouring every inch of wasteland have returned empty-handed. But the legend persists not because of proof, but because of what it represents. The idea that even in our mapped, digitized world, there are still places where the line between reality and myth blurs. The Mojave's lost ship isn't just a treasure hunt. It's a riddle about how stories outlast facts, how a single glint of gold in the sand can keep a mystery alive for generations. So is the ship real? The answer might not matter. What lingers is the thrill of the unknown, the chance that somewhere in that vast, scorched silence, a splintered mast still points toward the stars, waiting for the next wanderer to brush away the dust and wonder. Cocos Island rises from the Pacific like a jagged emerald, its mist-shrouded cliffs and tangled rainforest hiding what might be the last great pirate treasure left on Earth. This tiny speck of land, 300 miles off Costa Rica's coast, has lured fortune seekers for centuries with whispers of gold-laden galleons and chests of plundered jewels stashed in its shadowy caves. The legends trace back to the early 19th century, when pirates like the ruthless Benito, known as the Bloody Sword, reportedly used the island as a natural vault. His alleged haul, the plundered riches of an entire Spanish treasure ship, painstakingly hidden in a waterfall-carved grotto where the roar of cascading water would drown the sound of digging. Then there's Captain William Thompson, a privateer turned pirate who supposedly fled here with Leem as cathedral treasures during the South American Wars of Independence, including a life-sized golden Madonna studded with emeralds. The sheer audacity of these claims would strain credibility, if not for the physical clues left behind. Explorers have scoured Cocos Island since the 1800s, and the trail of evidence is as tantalizing as it is frustrating. In 1855, a sailor named John Keating claimed to have found part of Thompson's hoard gold coins spilling from a crevice near a now famous landmark called Wafer Bay. He allegedly filled his pockets before a landslide sealed the cache forever. Later expeditions uncovered even stranger artifacts, a rusted 17th century anchor wedged in a ravine, a hand-carved stone marker with indecipherable symbols, even a crumbling map fragment hidden inside a coconut shell. But the island guards its secrets fiercely. Dense jungle, sheer cliffs, and sudden flash floods have turned searches into deadly ordeals. In 1935, adventurer August Gisler, who spent 20 years hunting treasure here, left with nothing but malaria and a handful of Spanish coins, muttering about the island's curse. Modern technology hasn't fared much better. Ground-penetrating radar and satellite imagery struggle to pierce the thick canopy or the island's volcanic rock. In 2012, a team using sonar detected metallic anomalies deep in an underwater cave, but rough seas forced them to abandon the dive. Then there's the legal barrier. Cocos Island is now an UNESCO World Heritage Site, its ecosystem protected so fiercely that even scraping dirt requires government permits. Some argue this is for the best, that the real treasure is the island's untouched biodiversity, home to rare sharks, hummingbirds, and species found nowhere else. But that hasn't stopped theorists from poring over Thompson's so-called Lima papers, a set of cryptic instructions allegedly detailing the treasure's location. One passage mentions the eye of the serpent pointing to a river of gold, but whether that's a rock formation, a waterfall, or pure poetic license remains anyone's guess. The enduring allure of Cocos Island isn't just about the gold, it's about the puzzle. Every failed expedition adds another layer to the myth, every scratched-out map or sailor's diary entry a piece of a centuries-old riddle. Even if the treasures of Benito and Thompson are never found, their legends have transformed this lonely island into something greater, a testament to human stubbornness, to the idea that some mysteries refuse to stay solved. And perhaps that's the real secret of Cocos, not the treasure itself, but the way it keeps us dreaming, keeps us digging, keeps us staring at the horizon long after the maps say there's nothing left to find. Oak Island's money pit has taunted treasure hunters for over 200 years, but recent breakthroughs suggest we might be closer than ever to unraveling its secrets or falling deeper into its labyrinth of riddles. In 2019, the Lagina brothers and their team, armed with ground-penetrating radar and seismic imaging, uncovered something startling: a massive man-made cavity nearly 200 feet below the surface, lined with what appears to be wooden supports. This wasn't just another layer of the pit's infamous flood tunnels. It was a void large enough to hold something significant. Then came the artifacts, a centuries-old Roman ceremonial sword pulled from the waters of Smith's Cove, its blade corroded but unmistakable. How did a pre-Columbian weapon end up buried near a Canadian island? Theories range from rogue Phoenician explorers to medieval knights Templar fleeing persecution. Their secret cargo hidden beneath layers of booby traps and coconut fiber filtration systems designed to flood intruders. But the real head-scratcher emerged when researchers re-examined the so-called 90-foot stone, a slab dug up in the early 1800s and later lost to history. Eyewitness accounts described strange symbols carved into its surface glyphs that some cryptographers now believe could be a cipher pointing to the treasure's location. One translation, hotly debated among linguists, reads, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds lie buried. Whether that's a literal instruction or an elaborate red herring remains unclear, but it hasn't stopped modern teams from drilling core samples that, in 2021, revealed flecks of gold and traces of parchment deep in the pit's clay. The most tantalizing twist, dendrochronology dating of wooden fragments pulled from the pit, suggests some structures were built as early as the 1400 centuries before the first documented excavation. This lines up with fringe theories about pre-colonial European activity in North America, perhaps tied to Henry Sinclair, a Scottish nobleman rumored to have sailed to Nova Scotia in the late 1300s. Could Sinclair's alleged voyage have included a stop at Oak Island to stash something, or someone of immense value? Some speculate it wasn't gold but sacred relics, like fragments of the Ark of the Covenant, or even the lost Gospels of a suppressed Christian sect. Yet for every hopeful clue, Oak Island retaliates with confounding setbacks. The same advanced technology that detected the underground chamber also revealed a spiderweb of tunnels flooding it with seawater, a defense mechanism so sophisticated it feels like the work of an ancient engineer with a cruel sense of humor. And then there's the curse or coincidence that haunts the hunt. Since the 1800s, at least 6 men have died pursuing the treasure, their fates fueling local legends of a guardian's hex. Even today, workers report eerie malfunctions, drills snapping inexplicably, cameras failing at critical moments, and equipment sinking into the mud as if the island itself is resisting. So is the treasure real, or is the real treasure the mystery that keeps us digging? The answer might lie in the island's stubborn refusal to conform to any single narrative. Each layer peeled back reveals not clarity, but more questions, a Russian nesting doll of historical anomalies. Whether it's pirate loot, Templar gold, or something far stranger, Oak Island's greatest trick might be its ability to make us wonder, to keep us teetering on the edge of discovery, forever one shovel strike away from rewriting history or finding nothing but another riddle. The future of treasure hunting isn't just about dusty maps and pickaxes anymore. It's a high-tech race where lasers scan jungles from the sky and robots plunge into shipwrecks too deep for human divers. Take LiDAR, for example. This revolutionary technology, which uses pulsed light to map terrain, has peeled back the veil of dense rainforests to reveal lost cities like Cambodia's Mahendraparvata, hidden for centuries beneath the canopy. Meanwhile, in the Mediterranean, autonomous underwater drones equipped with sonar and 3D imaging are sniffing out ancient shipwrecks with pinpoint precision, like the Roman wreck off the coast of Crete that spilled its cargo of amphorae onto the seafloor 2,000 years ago. These tools aren't just making discoveries faster, they're rewriting history in real time. But with every breakthrough comes a thornier question: who gets to claim these treasures? In 2018, when the Colombian government announced it had located the San Jose Galleon, a shipwreck carrying billions in gold and emeralds, it sparked an international legal battle. Spain cried foul, arguing the ship was part of its cultural heritage. Private salvagers who'd spent millions searching demanded a cut. Even Bolivia's indigenous communities claimed the gold was looted from their ancestors. The case still languishes in courts, a cautionary tale for modern treasure hunters. It's not just about gold anymore, it's about colonialism's ghosts and who has the right to speak for the past. Ethics are the new frontier. Archaeologists warn that high-tech looters can now strip a site bare before authorities even know it exists. In 2021, thieves in Turkey used metal detectors at night to ransack a Roman villa, leaving behind empty trenches and shattered artifacts. Meanwhile, some researchers argue that leaving treasures untouched might be the most ethical choice. The Rapa Nui people of Easter Island, for instance, have fought to repatriate stolen Moai statues, arguing that their spiritual value outweighs any museum's right to display them. Even well-meaning discoveries can unravel delicate histories, like when DNA testing on Native American remains sparked outrage over cultural insensitivity. So where does that leave the next generation of treasure hunters? The answer might lie in collaboration. In Norway, metal detectorists now work alongside archaeologists, logging finds in real-time databases that help reconstruct Viking trade routes. In Egypt, scans of the Great Pyramid revealed hidden chambers, but instead of rushing in, scientists are using non-invasive techniques to study them, preserving the site for future tools we can't yet imagine. The real treasure of the future may not be gold or gems, but knowledge carefully extracted, ethically shared, and fiercely protected. The next great hunt won't just be about what we find, but how we find it. Will we bulldoze history in our rush to possess it, or will we finally learn that some treasures are more valuable when left to tell their own stories? As technology peels back layers we once thought were lost forever, one thing's certain: the greatest discovery of all might be realizing that the past doesn't belong to any one of us, it belongs to all of us, and how we handle it will define the stories future generations tell about who we were. From the golden myths of El Dorado to the flood-tunneled riddles of Oak Island, humanity's obsession with lost treasures isn't really about wealth, it's about the irresistible pull of the unknown. Think about it, every sunken galleon, every jungle-shrouded temple, every cipher carved into stone is a whispered invitation to step into the shoes of those who came before us. These stories endure because they're not just inventories of gold and jewels, they're time capsules preserving the hopes, fears, and ingenuity of entire civilizations. The Inca fleeing conquistadors with sacred relics, the Templars smuggling their fortune into the night, the desperate Confederates hiding their last coins. Each horde carries the fingerprints of people who believed, just like we do, that some things are worth protecting at all costs. But here's the beautiful paradox: the treasures that remain lost often hold more power than those we've found. The Amber Room's absence lets us imagine its amber panels glowing in candlelight, while Qin Shi Huang's unopened tomb teases us with possibilities rivers of mercury. Terracotta armies yet unseen. It's the not knowing that keeps these legends alive, transforming them from historical footnotes into collective dreams. And every now and then, when a farmer stumbles upon a terracotta warrior or a diver brushes sand off a centuries-old coin, we're reminded that the past isn't done speaking to us. The real magic lies in the hunt itself. Modern treasure hunters don't just wield shovels and metal detectors, they're armed with LiDAR, sonar, and satellite imaging, peeling back layers of earth and ocean with tools our ancestors couldn't have imagined. Yet for all our technology, the thrill remains the same. That heartbeat pause before turning a page in a crumbling diary, the gasp when ground-penetrating radar reveals a hollow space underground, the electric moment when a scan picks up the outline of something man-made where there should only be rock and water. It's the same rush that drove Schliemann to Troy or FDR to invest in Oak Island, a reminder that curiosity is the most human thing about us. So what's next? Maybe it's your name etched into Discovery's ledger. Maybe it's a child watching this video right now who'll one day crack the Copper Scroll's code or dive to the Fleur de Lamas resting place. Because these stories aren't relics, they're living things passed like a torch from one generation to the next. And whether the treasure you dream of is a pirate's chest or a library's lost scrolls, the adventure belongs to anyone willing to listen and look. Now it's your turn. Which legend keeps you awake at night? The golden streets of Petiti, the Templars' missing fortune? Drop your answer below, and who knows, maybe your theory will inspire the next great hunt. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell, because history's greatest mysteries are still out there, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Until then, keep exploring. The map isn't finished yet.